forgiveness.
Okay, let me go! Let me out! Help! God, you suck!
It's interesting because, I mean, the book was released in 1974, so obviously there's something about the story that's always relevant. There's something about the story that with every generation it means something different, it means something new. You know, because in 1976 when the movie was released, bullying was not as relevant as it is now, but the sexuality of the movie was incredibly relevant because it was the age of Aquarius. You know, it was the 70s, everything was about exploration. And then now sex and everything else is so out the window. It's so done, you know what I mean? And even shock factor, things, blood and gore, it's done. Now it's about emotion, it's about feeling, it's about the bullying aspect of the movie. That's what's shocking now. Shocking is seeing people emote on screen, which I think you rarely ever see, but I definitely think in that right, it's always going to be timeless for the fact of it's a story about adolescence, and there's always kids, teenagers. You see, Mama? You see, it's all gonna be okay.
Oh, repent. It's not too late.
Mama, don't ruin this for me. I'll be home early.
I'm gonna have to tell that boy the truth. She's not too modern, but she's not even in the world, you know? I mean, I think the thing about Margaret is that she is somebody who's so marginalized, has always been outside of everything and doesn't feel comfortable in the world, is afraid of it, has never had a good experience there, doesn't expect to have a good experience there, and doesn't want to be involved in it, which is, you know, sad. You know, even at the very beginning, you know, in the book he talks about how they could hear the screams coming from this woman's house when she's giving birth to this baby, and no one went over. So you think, like, well, why? Why, if you heard people screaming, wouldn't you go and help? So in this community, they're all culpable. They're all responsible for what happens to Carrie and what happens to them as a result.
I'm warning you, Mama.
The devil's hand.
Please don't do this. We auditioned pretty much every scene in the movie for like 5 hours twice, so I mean, I had to show the vulnerability, I had to show the calmness, the quietness, the way that you can definitely change as an actor and not be this always boisterous, always loud, always crass girl, you know, it's showing the quietness, you know, the vulnerability within an actor who is traveling around the world and doing all these different characters and getting money and whatever else, and directors are kind of afraid of that.
She is a beautiful girl with a loving family, has a lot of confidence, is successful, is walking the red carpet, has worked with great directors. In many ways, she's very much the opposite of a Carrie White in her being. But that doesn't mean she can't play it. That just means that we then have to help inform one another about how she's perceived and how we're going to transform her. So I said to her, you're very different than this girl. You know, she shakes your hand. She's got a good, firm grip. And I just said, so you're going to have to make this huge transformation, which I did with Hilary Swank, you know, in Boys Don't Cry, and Channing Tatum in Stop Loss, and we're going to have to strip away these layers. And so I worked with her family and created a safe space where we could take away that confidence, and she could rebel as a teenager, and we could get her in touch with less privileged people than herself. And I really believe that she just utterly transformed. And then that makes the performance that much richer, because at the end of the day, there are going to be moments when I have to go back to that confident Chloe. Right, when she's going to the prom, and at the very end when she wins prom queen, she starts to feel a little bit of confidence. Well, that's not entirely fabricated. We get to go back to the Chloe who has that confidence.